Gathje Network presents Humans Being with Kirk Whalum.
Welcome once again to Humans Being with Kirk Whalum, powered by the Gathje Network. That's Gathje, like kudzu, gathje.com. Lots of great podcasts. And this one, I think, is really cool. Maybe one of the cooler ones. But I'm really excited about today's episode because guess what? It's my birthday episode. And you can see the video. If you're just listening to the audio, you can access the video at gathje.com. Going to feature some extra special guests. Of course, you're my guest. You're my special guest. As always, to have you to spend some time with, I truly do appreciate. And I'm anxious to do it. But you and I have very extra special guest today because my mom is going to be on the show, as well as the guy who is my mentor, the somebody police, that sort of, they say if you want to try to learn something, imitate somebody who's doing it well. So his name is Gathje, and we're going to talk about this place that we're at right now. It's called Manna House. It's a place of radical hospitality for those who have been made poor. And I know you want to know more about that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go to Slave Haven. It's going to be cool. Come check it out. Don't budge. You're tuned to Humans Being with Kirk Whalum.
Humans Being with Kirk Whalum.
Our little segment we call That's a Word. It's always fun to do. There's lots of words, huh? My dad was a word guy. Okay, my dad was a pastor, but he wasn't able to go to college, right? Put it like this. He finished high school. He started college. But then, you know what? Life happened. We happened as kids. So he never was able to finish. And then as a pastor and as an executive for the postal system, he didn't really get to go and do the, advanced degrees that he would love to have done, right? So a part of that sort of manifests in the fact that he was always pushing himself, always learning new things, and especially new words. So I'm going to share one of the words, the KT Whalum words with you. That word is liminal. So liminal, L-I-M-I-N-A-L. And that word roughly means kind of in between. It's not quite this and it's not quite that, but it's kind of both, right? And there's a lot of different ways to think about it, but we could say in essence that all of life is liminal. Like literally this that we're experiencing right now. There's a song by Donny Hathaway that says, "For all we know, we may never meet again." He didn't write the song, but he sure did sing it better than anyone. Before we go make this moment sweet again, we won't say goodnight until the last minute. I'll hold out my hand and my heart will be in it. For all we know, this may only be a dream. Like what we're experiencing as life may very well be a dream. I mean, that the reality that we call reality might just be just one representation. In fact, I believe it is of a greater reality. Like there's an eternity that we're sort of parked in right now. In fact, someone once told me life is kind of like being on layover. Like, I go to wherever I go from Memphis, I have to go through ATL, right? When I get to ATL, I don't hang up my pictures, right? I don't hang up my artwork at the gate. Why? Because I'm not going to be there long, right? So the idea of liminality, like this is liminal, this is only temporary. That's, I think, the beginning of understanding and seeking after and maybe being curious about God, about eternity, right? So liminal, I'll just mention one aspect and then I'm done. And that is that, whatever you may be going through right now, it is absolutely not forever. It's not forever. Like it too will pass. Like every single thing is liminal in one sense, right? It's not going to be forever. And what if the outcome isn't the one that you desire, then, again, that's still not to say that something good is not coming. Something good is not going to come out of it. And it's going to lead to something even better in a sense than what you were hoping for. So the liminal thought, right, is that don't worry. This is going to change, and it's going to change for the better. That's our hope. Like we don't hope, we don't live this life without hope. We may grieve, but we don't grieve without hope, right? So think about the fact that all of life is liminal. It's just, it's we're passing through. And for me, man, I'm so grateful because some of this stuff, frankly, I'm not really crazy about experiencing, right? It's, sorrows and regrets and pain and all of that, man. I don't want it. But I'm grateful to know that it's not forever. And, the fact is, man, there's the now and there's the not yet. The not yet part, man, we're experiencing some of it now. But mostly now is filled with trouble and it's filled with joys too, but it's filled with some pain. So just know that, hey, it's just liminal. It's going to change.
Humans Being with Kirk Whalum.
Hey, Kirk. So you are somewhere riding a scooter, and I keep expecting you to pop up while I'm doing this. Hopefully you won't. Happy birthday. I love you. Mwah.
Hi, Kirk. It's Mom and Ormer. And we just had to wish you a very happy birthday. But first, we want to mention a few things. You made your debut into the world on a hot summer day in July. In fact, specifically, it was July the 11th, 1958. And oh, what a happy day that was. And you've been spreading joy and making us happy for the past 63 years. And wow, have you achieved a lot. You've achieved so much. And I'll never forget the night Rube called. You were nominated for a Grammy. And Ruby called us, and all she had to say was, he won. And we just had a hallelujah good time when she told us that. So that's just one of your many achievements, Kirk. You're a great humanitarian, and you have ministered to people all over the world with that saxophone. They know your sound, the Kirk Whalum sound. So, darling, I am just so happy that you're my son, and happy 63rd birthday.
Happy birthday, Kirk. Just want to wish you a happy one, man, and hoping you're enjoying yourself. I can remember back in 2018 when you got your musical note on the Beale Street Walk of Fame. And man, that was a joyous time. And we want to thank you for all the things you've done to include us with some of your musical venues as far as that go. And the Grammy is right up there. Anyway.
Hey, Ruby, let us keep it for you. Anyway.
Happy birthday, Kurt.
Happy birthday, Kurt.
We love you.
God bless.
Hey, Dad. I love you. This is the end of a long workday, which is why I wasn't able to record with the kids. And as you can see, I still have work to do tonight. But I did want to say happy birthday. I'm proud you're my dad. I walk around proud to be your son. I think everybody around me knows that. And I love taking the things I've learned with you, applying them to my own kids, to my own career, my own life. And Jamie's telling me I'm out of time. All right, love you.
Happy birthday, Papa.
Happy birthday, Papa. Love you.
Hey, young Kirk. Happy birthday to you. And I would like to say thank you for always being the amazing inspiration that you are to me and to many, many others all over the world. Mwah.
Hello. If I could sing happy birthday to you, I would, but I'll spare you. Happy birthday, honey. I love you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kirk Whalum. Happy birthday to you. We love you, man. Happy birthday from the Starrets. Feliz cumpleaños.
That's Spanish.
Celebrate big. We love you.
Welcome to Humans Being with Kirk Whalum, and it's the special of the special specialist, most special editions, because it's my birthday episode, and I get to, they gave me license, the folks at Kazukian, to interview whoever the hell I want. And so I made the executive decision once they gave me, once they allowed me to do it, to interview the person that I wanted to talk to on my birthday, and that is my mom. Would you please say hello to my beautiful and brilliant mom, Mary Helen Rogers? Hi, Mom.
Hello, all. I'm Helen Whalum Rogers, and I'm glad to be here with my Kirky. He's my number 2 son, and I'm just happy to be a part of human beings.
Well, so you say number 2 of how many?
Oh, I didn't mean it the way you just took it.
I didn't take it anyway. No, the people don't know how many sons you have. So
I'm sorry. I have 3 sons, and Kirk is number 2 son. I have one older than Kirk and one younger than Kirk.
So my 3 sons.
My 3 sons, yes.
Now, did you and Dad think about the conundrum of our names? You know, the first initials of our names.
Yeah, and I guess we should have given it a little more thought because it ends up being KKK, doesn't it?
No, you gave it plenty thought. What you did was you said my boys are going to redeem and restore the letters KKK. So yes, we're all about it. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. So I get to talk to you on my birthday episode, and so I guess it would be right if I just get you to speak a little bit about when little Kirky, she calls me Kirky even to this day. I'm 62, but she calls me Kirky. When Kirky was born, can you tell me a little bit about that time period, that day, that month, or all of that?
Yes, I can tell you because it was July the 11th, 1958, and it was a very hot day. Anyway, and so he was born 7 or 8 in the morning. It was early, and we just welcomed this beautiful little baby boy, and he has given us a much joy over the past. It will be 63 years on July the 11th.
That's right. Now you had been you guys were living in DC at the time, but you came home and had me in Memphis, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
and did just go ahead and put it out there now. That 2-year-old son of yours, the pastor Kenneth, did he beat me up when I was a little baby? I need to know. I'm trying to understand some things about my psychological state.
Well, if he did, I didn't know about it. He knew not to let me know about it.
He was smart enough to do it when you were not looking.
That's exactly right.
Well, so Mom, you are a career person. You've retired from a career as an executive for the postal system. You were postmaster here in Millington, Tennessee. And then you were an executive in Chicago and Kansas City. Can you tell me what it's like to look back on a career of, public service in the federal government for that many years?
Well, my career actually began. I was a stenographer, and I was the first Black that they hired in the Memphis regional office. The levels are broken down. There's a local, there's a regional, whatever. And I was the first Black that they hired. And I advanced from that point. I was a postmaster at Millington, as you just said, Millington, Tennessee, and that's a first class office. It's about 35 miles from Memphis. And the way they determine whether or not it's a first class office, of course, is the revenue is one. And I had the city delivery as well as rural delivery at the office. And I also hired the first Blacks at the Millington Post Office. It was unprecedented to have Black employees there. I hired the first clerk and the first letter carrier, Black letter carrier, and also a supervisor I hired and who was Black there. So I think I was pleased with how things went there because we made progress in the racial sphere. And I went from there. We moved to Chicago because Ormer's job transferred him to Chicago. And in Chicago, I started in one job, and then I was promoted to, before I left, well, I retired as the field director of marketing and communications in Chicago. That was an executive on the executive level for the Postal Service. They call it PCS, and that was it. And I retired in 1992, and I retired on the exact date that I was eligible.
Not to say that you were in a hurry, but yeah, you did it on the very day.
Right. And I worked a total of 33 years.
Wow.
In government and postal service.
Well, one thing I want to mention quickly is that you were a stenographer, and I probably knew that, but just it's funny to me because like you are that person who kind of ushered me into this technological age that we're in. You were talking about email and, years ago, and I'm like, what is that? And you were saying, right. Well, it's so and so and so, and this is how it works. So you were in technology kind of, you were a techie way back then.
It's kind of a different level, but the Postal Service started losing revenue with letter mail. Okay, and we brainstormed. What are some of the reasons why the mail, the level of mail would decline? And of course, my first answer to that was email. They don't mail them, anymore. In like letter mail, they do emails, and of course that still has impacted the letter mail service.
Right. And let me just say that some of our team at Kazukian, they are listening to us going, oh my God, you mean there was a time when there was no email? Oh my, how did
right.
Well,
exactly.
I want to briefly talk because I can't rush, but we only have so much time. But let me say this. One of the things that people say to me to this day, with the tone of awe, they talk about your physical beauty. So now, again, I know you didn't have anything to do with that. What you had something to do was the stuff you just talked about when you excelled in this area and that area.
And I always preferred that they put emphasis on some of the things I had accomplished.
Exactly right. But
career.
let me stop there for just a second and say that you actually did some modeling when I was a little boy. Is that right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Nice.
In fact, I was a print model for Johnson Products.
Right.
No, Ebony Magazine is where the pictures were.
Yeah, that's Johnson Products.
Yeah, and I advertised for a hairdressing thing, I can't think of the name.
Right. Well, yeah. So, I'm just saying, I just need to kind of stick my chest out a little bit and say, yeah, my mom is gorgeous. Okay. My mom is also over 80. I'm going to let her decide if she wants to take
I am 84 and
that's what I'm talking about. You 84. Can't just look. Black don't crack.
That's because I have a lot of people in my life who have loved me, and and I do the things that I enjoy, like playing bridge now.
Like playing bridge, and just we need people to know that you still are an avid bridge player. Now you play online primarily, right?
Yeah, we play online all the time because the pandemic kind of dictated that we do that because and it's just, you're playing with your same partner when you play online, so it's wonderful, really.
Well, now let me also mention, you mentioned people who love you. I got to shout out my stepdad, Ormer Rogers, man, that a gentle giant of a man.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, and
he's wonderful, and he's upstairs on another Zoom, as I mentioned earlier, and he would really be upset with me if I said, "Come down here, Omar."
Well, let me just mention that both my parents is on a Zoom right now on different Zooms. You don't hear me. Well, okay,
Yeah.
let me ask you this. So when I first wanted to play the saxophone, the first thing I did was I was in junior high. They used to call it junior high at Sherwood Junior High here in Memphis. And unfortunately, they had instruments for you to try out. You could take it home however often you wanted. You could take it home. And so I did. I had my horn at home, but I wanted my own horn, and you were all about it. You
Yeah.
made sure I had the very best horn. But I do want you to talk about this a little bit. Was it excruciating? Was it loud? And how did you take it?
You mean you're practicing and that kind of thing?
Yeah, my incessant practicing.
Well, and about the horn, your first horn was a used one. I wanted you to prove yourself because you had also played guitar a little bit and drums. So
Right.
I wanted to be sure that you were going to stick with the horn. And when we knew that you would, and I think what convinced us was when you played Amazing Grace at church on your horn.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, we got to get him that horn. And that's when we got, I don't know what kind it was. Was
Yeah,
it
so
Selma?
I was playing the Olivet Baptist, and I played Amazing Grace. I always talk to people when I played that song with Whitney Houston for 7 million people live from South Africa.
In Africa, yes.
Yeah, I talk about that the first time I played. The first song I learned really was Amazing Grace, and I played it, performed it at church. So it was the first time I performed it, and it was a King Super 20 horn, whatever. Now I play a P Mariette, y'all, if you need to know what horn I play. But so Mom, that period of kind of being sheltered in a sense that, being, in that little small kingdom of Olivet Baptist Church, I feel like I was sheltered from the whole world.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, can you speak to, just the kind of living in that small kind of a kingdom, where, you knew you had people helping you raise your kids?
Oh, it was a wonderful time for me. You always liked to perform, though. You formed a band in the neighborhood, the neighborhood kids. I'll never forget how you and was it Renee? And
yes, Renee, Coda Renee Howell.
Yeah, you all would come and play on the patio, and your I guess it's a song you wrote. It was "I've got soul, I've got soul." Those were the words you kept repeating over and over again.
That's it. It was "We Got Soul."
Yeah, we got soul, we got soul.
But see, right though, the patio, now that you mentioned it, that was like our stage because it was elevated. It was a perfect stage.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And when I got tired of it, I'd just go in the back and close my door. But also, you did the Memphis Fairgrounds. You remember you all competed out there?
Sure did.
You and Blair, and who was the third one?
I'm gonna think of his name when we're done, but it was just three of us, and we played somewhere. I know we didn't win, but we did real good, and man, that is amazing because I think about that now. Of course, years later, I was living in Paris, Blair was living in England, so it's like these kids playing on the back porch. We ended up doing okay.
And Blair was playing for one of the Beatles, wasn't he?
With Paul McCartney, yeah.
Yeah, right.
He played with Sade for a long time.
Yeah, and then we were just so proud of you when you were playing at the fairgrounds.
Yeah,
because you were always so passionate, Kirk, about whatever you were doing. So
yeah,
So
let me ask you, about just where we are now, with the pandemic and everything. What are your thoughts, Mom, on, you had never experienced anything like this either, right? I mean, right. So, what do you think? I mean, where we were, where we are now.
Well, I think, of course, I think some good came out of it because I think, as an example, like we're using Zoom now, there are people who would not have dared venture, try to do any kind of technology like this, and so I think that's a good part of it.
Well, and another thing is that Ruby and I were going to Sunday school with you and Ormer at Metropolitan in Kansas City.
Yeah, yeah, and that's another thing we do. We're doing it on Sunday mornings, and now they've changed it to Saturdays because we're gradually going back into the church, in-person church.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, of course, it has taken its toll as well. You know, people have been stressed mentally, and so there have been some negatives there. And but so I think though that we're all going to be different
Mm.
when it's over, and it'll mean different things to different ones. But
Yeah.
also families. I think there are families who never ate together. You know, the
Yeah.
husband was always at work, and during the pandemic, they closed everything down. So
Yeah.
you know, he had to be home, or she. I say he or she because
Yeah.
the breadwinners are also the women, and that was a good thing, I think, for families.
Yeah.
Um, so
Well, they're telling me I'm out of time. I've been out of time, but it's my
okay,
mom, so
okay.
I'm just going to take privilege, right? Point of
Oh,
privilege.
and it's getting close to my time too.
So mom's got to go and do some more, play some more prayers. But just quickly, mom, in the spiritual environment that we're in, you placed your faith in Christ years ago.
Yes.
And you've been through the fire, your life, challenges and all different reasons to give up, but you never did. Can you speak to, and especially maybe a message to people in general, but your home folks here in Memphis? Because I know you still
Well,
have deep connections to them.
I think in my case, I always say if I had a mantra, it would be I choose love,
Mm,
and uh, love heals. Love just means so many things, you know, to people. And I think that that has been the main thing. And, you know, I would always tell you all, and it sounds really simplistic when you say the golden rule, you must just do that, treat people the way you want to be treated. Um, other than that, I don't know. What else do you want me?
well, you said it all. You choose love, and that's the most profound choice a person can make, and you have to make it daily. And so I'm
Yeah.
just so grateful to come from this kind of rich stock.
Well,
That
you know, you are such a compassionate person, Kirk, and I think that that love is really works in your life. So
Amen.
yeah.
Amen. I love you, and I'm so grateful to have had my mom as my special guest. Y'all say bye-bye to
Bye
Helen.
bye, and thank you, Joy, and is it
And that Jeremy
Jeremy?
over there, yeah. Keeping
Yeah.
us
Okay.
in line.
See you next time.
All right, sweetie. We're gonna get you back and make you talk longer.
All right. Love you.
All right, bye.
Kadzukian. Check out all your Kadzukian favorites now.
Dark Souls is the only video game I've ever walked away from.
We got so much going on in sports. First topic we're going to jump off into is in the basement. Blues in the basement.
Welcome, everyone, to the Kicks Factory podcast.
Kadzukian. Check out all your Kadzukian favorites now. Download the Kadzukian app, available on Android and iOS. Humans Being with Kirk Whalum.
Well, you're tuned to my favorite space in the whole wide world, a place called, yes, Humans Being with Kirk Whalum. And today I have a client by the name of Jeremy, who normally would be sorting out our audio. But today he's going to be learning some stuff from my mentor. Very unlikely mentor because, as it turns out, he was my professor, my ethics professor in seminary. And so he was the one who basically, I say, came in with his, one of those scalpels, cut my head off, ripped it off, threw it away, and I was running around like a chicken. I thought I knew, like, the Bible, because I had been doing Bible studies my whole life. I came into this Christian ethics class and find out that I know absolutely nothing. Well, today he's my guest, not just my special guest. And by the way, of course, you're my special guest, right? Because you're hanging out with us. But my extra special guest, our guest, is a guy by the name of Pete Gathje. Pete, what's up, man?
Not much, Kirk. Good to be with you here at Manna House, and looking forward to having some conversation with you.
Well, listen, Manna House is a place that truly did change my life. Meeting you, hanging out, just sort of, they say, if you want to learn something, imitate somebody, right? So in the quest to imitate you, man, to see what you do with your life, how you just wasted and ruined your life when you could have been, some highfalutin professor at some highfalutin university. Here you are serving out your time as a professor at Memphis Theological Seminary, the very best seminary in the country. And here at Manna House, can you just tell us, how did Manna House get started?
Manna House started about 15 years ago.
Okay.
A group of us had started thinking about how we could offer hospitality to people on the streets here in Memphis.
Yeah.
And it really grew out of just right down the street. There's a church, Sacred Heart Catholic Church, where a bunch of us went to church, and we got to know people on the streets because they'd go to church there, and on the way out, we'd get panhandled.
Right.
So we got to know them, Sarah, and a few others, Tyler and Abe.
Yes.
And started to talk with them, especially my wife Kathleen. Really started to talk with them and asked them what would be helpful for them in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And they said what we really need is a place where we can hang out, get a cup of coffee, have some conversation, take a shower, get a change of clothes.
A safe place,
a sanctuary.
Yeah.
So Kathleen got this place, and we did a little bit of remodeling, and we opened up. And it's been going that way for the last 15 years.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you mentioned I want to drill down a little bit, and that is that, of course, there's a lot of ways to serve people who are habitually homeless. There are a lot of ways to serve people who have a lot of needs, felt needs. But there's this particular model has more to do with hospitality. Like, how people don't realize that the word hotel, hostel, hospital, those all come from the same root word. And you're dealing with people from the standpoint of honoring their humanity and showing them hospitality. Can you just speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the notion of hospitality, it's grounded in really all of the world's religions, but I'll just speak out of my own faith tradition of Christianity. So Genesis 18, Abraham and Sarah offer hospitality to the traveling angels disguised as human beings. And that's how Sarah and Abraham end up having a son.
Yeah.
So it was a practice in the Hebrew scriptures and in the New Testament. Jesus, of course, emphasizes it in Matthew 25, verses 31 to 46, where he says, "Whatever you do unto the least of these, you do unto me." So for us here, hospitality really means recognizing God's presence in each guest, recognizing their dignity is made in the image of God, welcoming them with respect, and really without judgment, without criteria, just you show up and you're welcome here.
Right. So now, without criteria, what I get to read into that from my own experience is that as a fundamentalist Christian growing up, if you ever dealt with or ministered to people who were in need, mainly, homeless people or people who, had profound felt needs, there was an agenda, not veiled at all. And the agenda was, well, you got to get them saved. You have to speak the gospel to them, which again, I'm certainly not against, but that was the precursor to anything that you would do to meet their needs. And not just, would you just speak on that differentiation a little?
Yeah, for us, the roles are kind of reversed. If we truly believe that Christ is present in those that we're serving, they're the ones who are evangelizing us. Right. So we're learning the gospel from them. And, of course, just about every guest who comes here has already been baptized. They've already been saved. Like one guest told me one morning, I've been baptized 5 times. So they don't really need, the kind of salvation that like a white middle-class guy might be offering to them.
Right.
What they need is a place where they're going to be loved and respected, and that's really what salvation is anyways.
Right.
So that's what we offer is love.
Right, and so you're showing them the love of Christ. If we're just speaking of religious terms, you're showing them the love of Christ by virtue of honoring their humanity, acknowledging their humanity, and at the same time, and this is the part that I most definitely would have missed if I came into this experience from my fundamentalism, that is, you're saying that they are, each and every guest is created in God's image. So when this person walks in the door, it's God who is walking in the door.
That's right, and that's it's kind of a mystical conviction, I guess, to be able to see God in each person.
Yeah.
But this is what Jesus said, I'm there when you're working with the least of these. That's where I'm present.
Yeah.
So, my Catholic background, I kind of think of it as like this 8th sacrament.
Yeah.
That Jesus is present in the bread and the wine of the Lord's Supper, the Eucharist, but he's equally present in the guests who come here to Manna House.
Right. Another thing, speaking of you and your Catholic upbringing, would you mind speaking to the connection with Catholic Charities, Dorothy Day, and the sort of the tradition of Catholic workers and how that has influenced what you do here at Manna House?
Yeah, we consider ourselves to be a place of hospitality in the Catholic worker tradition, and Catholic worker movement started in the 1930s during the Great Depression in New York City. Dorothy Day and Peter Marin opened up a house of hospitality in the Bowery and started welcoming people there and that central conviction of that they're welcoming Christ coming in the stranger's guise. That's what animated them, but also a commitment to seek justice. And that's been part of our work here from the very beginning, too. It's one of the reasons we have a Black Lives Matter sign out front. It's one of the reasons the police are not allowed here. We work against the death penalty. We support people who are imprisoned and work for their release. And that's part of hospitality, because hospitality is really interconnected with justice.
Yes.
And hospitality is starting to do the redistribution of goods that justice demands.
Yes.
So, the Catholic worker movement has been very important to us and continues to be very important to us in the life and work of Dorothy Day.
Yeah. And, by the way, that part about not allowing the police on the premises, to folks who are shocked by the whole movement of defund the police, it might be good for you to speak on why, again, of course, everyone appreciates a quote-unquote good policeman. Everyone appreciates the police officers, many police officers who serve with dignity and respect and even empathy. But what we experience here on this side of town, as it were, is another kind of policing. And unfortunately, George Floyd's demise kind of unearthed some of that. But that's what you all have been experiencing here and fighting against since you opened.
Yeah, I mean, the police have a difficult job. And what I've said to officers when they've tried to come on the property here is like, look, your job's out there, our job's here.
Right.
So, and we're not going to try to mix those up.
Right.
So we're not part of law enforcement. We're offering hospitality.
Right.
But the key here is that people who are on the streets are often not treated with respect.
Yeah.
Not just by the police, but by other people as well.
Yeah.
And so for people on the streets to feel welcome here, we need to have a place where they don't have to worry about police officers coming in and just kind of looking around and seeing what's going on.
Right.
So I got to say that we've had a overall good relationship with the police, except for a few when we first opened.
Yeah.
Because there was an assumption that they could just come onto the property, and when we disabused them of that assumption,
right,
they were not particularly happy about that.
Yeah, because it comes down sometimes to power, right?
It is.
Where, you're used to having autonomy, where you can walk in, especially in a neighborhood like this, and I emphasize the fact that this neighborhood is known for people who are operating in their weakness as opposed to their strengths. In other words, people who may be addicted, who may be in a situation where they're not on their best, their best, they're being their best selves. And so, that being the case, then an officer sees them as an abstraction, as sort of an annoyance.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are used to being able to, to exercise their power over these folks. And then here you come saying, well, that may be true. This person may be self-medicating, or what you would call addicted, but they are still a child of God, made in God's image, and you're demanding respect.
Yeah, we're demanding respect, and we're asking that this be a place where they're not going to have to worry about being harassed.
Yeah.
So, and that, the people on the streets can sometimes be low-hanging fruit, so to speak, for police officers, and some of the stuff that's criminalized it's just criminalized because it's happening on the streets.
Right.
It's stuff that if we were at home, there's nothing wrong with
lighting up a joint.
Or having a beer or going to the bathroom, but the fact that there aren't public places to go to the bathroom.
Right.
So you go behind a building and you're relieving yourself, suddenly, that's public urination and it's indecent exposure.
Right. And now
people get arrested for that.
You get carried off to jail because you don't have a place to use the bathroom. And then if you go in a place and respectfully ask, I really have to use the bathroom, may I? They say no, because you haven't bought anything. Well, I don't have any money. That doesn't matter to me.
Doesn't, and it actually under the law it doesn't matter. Everybody's supposed to have access to public restrooms. But it's one of the things we do offer here while we're open is the restroom is open for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think for us the key here is that anybody who comes is going to be treated with respect and welcomed in their full dignity as human beings.
Right.
And of course we've learned a great deal from our guests from the streets about policing.
Right. Excellent. By the way, happy birthday.
To you also.
Because one of the things we found out, or I guess I found out after I was here, volunteering for the longest time, I found out that you and I are born on the same day, except you were born a year before me, July 11th, 1957.
Correct.
Yeah, and I was born 7/11/58. And so we tend to celebrate together. And so let me say, like my dad was a pastor, right? So, we're different races. We come from different, backgrounds. You're from the Midwest, from Michigan.
Minnesota. Mm-hmm.
From Minnesota, that other M. That's a whole lot colder. And, I have, been very, very candid about, the fact that I see you as a mentor, and perhaps my primary mentor in this stage of my life as I'm trying to live out my faith in ways that are authentic and that are altruistic. So how did you, I get you told us the story about, the Catholic workers and all that, but did you ever see yourself doing this work like this?
No, I really got called into this work through doing my master's thesis at Candler School of Theology at Emory University.
Right.
So I got connected with a place called the Open Door Community.
Open Door Community. Let me make sure and emphasize that. That's in Atlanta.
It was in Atlanta. It's in Baltimore now.
Okay, great.
But that was the place of conversion for me.
Yes. And your conversion, by just saying that, like that's when you really feel like you met God or you
absolutely
encountered God for real.
So my mentor is Ed Loring and Murphy Davis. Two of the founders of the Open Door Community.
Yeah.
And I'd spent 3 years as a Benedictine monk, about 10 years before that. And that was certainly a place of conversion, too, to hospitality, to regular prayer.
Yes.
And seeing how those are interconnected.
Right. So we could talk for a long time, but apparently I'm out of time. I am going to finish your haircut, by the way. That would be wrong. After all Jeremy has done to make me sound good. So we are grateful that you stopped by to just spend a minute with my mentor and myself. That's Pete Gathje. You can go to Manna House Memphis.
Correct.
.org. MannaHouseMemphis.org to learn about how you can participate in the work that Pete and Kathleen and Ashley and the other volunteers do here on the weekly. And by the way, this place is open Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays until around noon. One of the important concepts is when you're going to do good, make sure you can, you can be consistent with it, and that it's sustainable. And so sometimes that means, hours might be, you're not here all day, every day. But when you are here, you're here in a way that people know you're going to be here again next week doing the work. And I say work, by the way, never feels like work. Even cutting hair, in this place, I always feel like it's just such a privilege for me to learn from and to be in proximity with those who have been made homeless, those who have been made poor for one reason or another. I always learn something, and I'm always better, and I get to hang out with God, which is pretty cool. Thank you, Pete Gathje.
Sure, thank you, Kirk.
Love you, man. And
Love you.
I'll see you Thursday.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Hang out with us. You're on Humans Being with Kirk Whalum, the Kadzukian Network.
Hey, Kirk.
Hi.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
We just wanted to drop a line, let you know how much we love you, and thank you so much and for being in our lives and being an awesome friend and God granddaddy and just an awesome man. And I really appreciate your influence on my life. And happy birthday, young man.
Happy birthday.
And I will see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Kirk Whalum, want to wish you a happy birthday. Thank you for being an awesome friend. You're an incredible musician, but even more than that, you're a great brother, man of God, a great family man. We love you and love your family, and we hope you enjoy your birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Pop-Pop. I love you. Happy birthday.
Ooh,
Happy
perfect.
birthday, Pop-Pop. We love you from the halls at the lake.
Yeah, happy birthday. We hope you have a wonderful day. We love you very much. Hope you get to enjoy something like as nice as this view right here.
Bye-bye. Happy
All right, have a
We
wonderful
love
day.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Happy birthday, you Kirk Whalum, you. You're certainly the Kirk Whalumest person I know. So look, man, you surprised me the other day when you sent me birthday wishes. So I want to do the same for you. Happy birthday. I hope it's a great one. I love you. And hey, let's get back out and do what we do like we do it soon. All right, bro. Love you.
Kirk Whalum, I am here to wish you a very, very happy birthday. I'm going to get to spend time with you this year, and I'm so happy to do that. You are one of my favorite human beings on the planet. You're such an amazing father, amazing husband, an amazing friend, and you are such a testimony with your saxophone. Thank you for who you are, and I'm just happy to get older with you. So this is for you. So much love.
Kirk Whalum, it's your old buddy DK. I wanted to wish you a very happy birthday and tell my favorite living tenor saxophonist, don't tell anybody I said that, okay? It's just between you and me and anybody who's actually seeing this. But you are my favorite. And I just want to wish you a very happy birthday and tell you that I love you, and I want to thank you so much for the joy and the inspiration that you have brought to my life. When I think about our friendship over the last many, many years, it's not just the music, it's the conversations, it's those heart-to-heart talks that will stay with me for my entire life. Because you are more than a musician, you're more than an artist. You are a visionary, you're a teacher, you're a student of the world, and just by being in your aura and being around you, I've learned so much, and I'm very, very grateful to you for all of that and all that will come, especially this summer, being able to spend so many days together, so much time on the road together. I can't wait for the fun that awaits. Happy birthday to you. I love you. I love Ruby. I love your whole family. And I hope that this next year ahead and the decades ahead as well provide you with incredible amounts of inspiration, continued success, good health, and lots of love always. I love you.
Hello, my dear. Wishing you the happiest of birthdays. I love you.
Humans Being with Kirk Whalum. Kadzukian. Check out all your Kadzukian favorites now.
Dark Souls is the only video game I've ever walked away from.
We got so much going on in sports. First topic we're going to jump off into is in the basement.
Blues in the basement.
Welcome, everyone, to the Kicks Factory podcast.
Kadzukian. Check out all your Kadzukian favorites now. Download the Kadzukian app, available on Android and iOS.
So glad you're tuned in to this frequency. It's a frequency we call Humans Being with Kirk Whalum. And you're my special guest, as always, but man, do you and I have a very special guest today. And I guess the guest who's going to tell us about the place that is also kind of our guest, in the sense that it's a place where I believe the spirits of our ancestors still kind of stop by every now and then. So that's pretty special. Her name is Mrs. Turner, Mrs. Elaine Turner. It's so nice to see you again.
So good to see you, Kurt. Glad that you have come to visit us.
Absolutely, and your daughter Lana was very kind to, to welcome us with great hospitality.
Good.
And I am so very pumped to be sitting on this pew, which is 100 years old, in this house, which is also very old. Slave Haven. Can you just, there's so much, but I guess just start us on the path of what is this place? What does it represent?
You know, this place represents freedom. Slave Haven Underground Railroad Museum. It was a haven for enslaved Africans who were fleeing to freedom. And this was a safe place for them to hide. And they hid here, and from here they went on up north, and they were free. So this is a very special place. They took their freedom in their own hands, and they just ran. And they hid, and they ran, and they hid until they got to freedom.
My goodness, goodness. There's just so much, there's so much in that, I think, I consider it to be a sacred space.
Yes.
It's a spiritual space. And, speaking of spiritual, the idea that, we nowadays, we kind of have this spirituality that's kind of isolated. It's about me and my salvation and my spiritual journey and my this and my that. Whereas if you were African running from folk who want to either enslave you or kill you, you couldn't just be all about you. And that is what this place is about. It was about community, people lifting each other up.
Absolutely. Even before they left, they had help of people on the plantation who wanted them to be free. They wanted to be free themselves. They learned what to do on their journey to freedom before they left the plantation. They learned what to take with them, what signs to look for, where it was safe to hide. They had that knowledge, and they drew on knowledge, not only on the plantation. They drew on knowledge that they had from Africa, and they used those secrets, those codes, and they were able to help them themselves get to freedom, but with the help of others on the plantation as well.
So they brought, spiritual knowledge. They brought, as they say, just common sense, but the skills and the concepts, the organization that it took to survive this journey. They brought that with them.
Absolutely. All of that combined to give them that strength, to give them that stamina of endurance in order to make it to freedom.
So I guess you could say they had to have an orientation. They always talk about Sojourner Truth and others who would sit them down and look them in the eye and say, look, you're not going to get me killed, and you're not going to get these other people killed. So here's the orientation.
Absolutely.
What would that have sounded like? What are some of the skills in the
They would have to follow instructions. And if you are leaving, it's a given that you're going all the way.
Okay.
And so Harriet Tubman told them just that you go on or die. Dead slaves can't jaybird talk. You go back on the plantation, you will be beaten, you will be forced to tell. We know that's going to happen. Yeah. So no, you're not going back.
Yeah.
And so they didn't turn back. Yeah, you know too much. So that cannot happen. So they had to be ready for the whole journey. Don't leave at all.
Yeah. Wow, you got to leave with the end in mind.
Absolutely.
And the courage that you think it's going to take, because again, none of them had ever done anything like this except for her, Harriet Tubman and the ones who I guess were assisting her, but them other folk like, I think I know what I'm in for, but how could they?
Yes. Well, those that Harriet Tubman led, they were fortunate because she knew the way, she knew the route, and there were so many others who just had to find their way, or they learned what to do on that journey, and they were able to make it to Canada after all. In spite of everything, they were able to make it. But they learned that, and they adhered to that. They learned to read nature, to read the stars, and know what to do at certain points, and how to maneuver through nature, how to eat from the berries and of nature. That kept them going. That kept them eating on the way. They learned all of that.
Wow. So even just knowing what you could and couldn't eat, like we can't have you out there throwing up and doubled over. You got to know what to eat and what not to eat.
They knew the plants. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now that really stirs something else with me. That is, again, so I come to this space as a minister. I mean, I went to seminary. I grew up as a PK. In a fundamentalist Christian environment, right? So I honor all faith traditions and no faith tradition, right? Just humanity.
Sure.
But to think that, the African spirituality, the body of knowledge, the body of experience, the spiritual intuition of an African coming into now this space where that's going to matter. So here's the missionary saying, we're going to tell you how you're going to get saved.
Mm-hmm.
And so the African is going, okay, but now I need to get saved from you.
Sure.
Okay, so now so I can't depend on what you're teaching me. I have to draw from some other things. And so what would have been some of those things?
Well, they drew from, of course, the slave masters for the most part were of the Christian faith. Mm-hmm. They identified it, with the some of the teachings, of Jesus and goodness to everybody, and so they did listen to that, but they identified themselves with the suffering of Jesus Christ, and say that's me. Yes. I mean that's what's happening to me. Mm-hmm. So they use that religion to find a way out of slavery by songs that they sang, by incorporating codes in the songs that freed them. So they were learning how to escape from slavery by drawing on the religious teachings.
Yeah.
From
the slave master.
From the slave master.
And by the way, some would say, James Cone would say that from the very beginning of Genesis all the way straight through to Revelation is the story of liberation.
Yes, it is.
Right, and the idea that the children of Israel, Moses leading them out the Exodus, right, from bondage, that we were able to take that and to embody that in a completely different way.
Absolutely. Say, hey, that's us. That's who that is. Moses come down here and help us out of, slavery. And Moses, of course, was Harriet Tubman. So goodness. Come and get us, so that they wanted to go to that promised land. And that promised land, of course, was Canada. That was freedom. Yeah, but they incorporated it in the songs, and the slave masters heard them singing the songs too. Yeah. They didn't know what they were really singing about.
Now that's what I want to ask you. Yes. I know I want to talk to you for about an hour, but just tell me, give me a couple examples of those codes that they would sing that we know it, but y'all don't.
Okay, swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home.
So now we hear, that's so beautiful, by the way. We hear you singing about some chariot, but what are they hearing? What is the message? What are the codes?
Swing means run, okay? Swing low. Mm-hmm. When you're running, you have to stay hidden.
Yeah.
All the way to Canada. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for a chariot. Mm-hmm. That's a mode of transportation.
Right.
Maybe a false bottom wagon you're hiding in.
Okay.
Might be a boat on the river.
Mm-hmm.
Could even be your feet.
Yeah.
That's taking you to freedom. That's the chariot, whatever's taking you to freedom.
Yeah.
Okay? Coming for to carry me home. Home is a code word for freedom.
Yeah. Yeah, so they were specifically talking about, we gonna get up out of here.
Yes.
And we need to make sure that y'all don't know precisely how we're doing that.
Absolutely.
So the music ended up being a mode of liberation that was, stealth.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness, Ms. Turner, I'm so grateful just to have a few minutes with you. What I would like to do is come back and talk to you for another hour and a half. But this is what you do. This is work for you, but I know it's also a labor of love.
It is a labor of love because we are enlightening people, we're educating people, we're inspiring people, and once they understand what our ancestors really did to get free, even though they were forbidden to read and write, they put the messages in the songs.
All the coordination of it, all
that's
the
right.
planning. Oh my goodness! How can people who don't know about Slave Haven? What's the website they can?
Slave Haven Underground Railroad Museum.org.
.org or is Facebook?
Yeah, it's Facebook as well,
okay,
so they can find us.
Slave Haven. Well, thank you so much. We're here in Memphis, by the way. Memphis,
yes.
Tennessee. Slave Haven. Ms. Turner, thank you. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Kirk, for coming. We are really blessed to have you in our presence today.
I'll be back.
Great.
So there's never enough time. We are once again at the end of a show, and of course the show is called Humans Being with Kirk Whalum, and I'm always so happy to have you as my guest. But you and I have this week had some extraordinary guests, and none greater than the Turners and this beautiful place in Memphis called Slave Haven. It's a sacred space that I'm standing in. And I guess I'll end by playing a little bit more of the song that you heard Ms. Turner so beautifully sing, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. And, the significance of the Negro spirituals in the quest for freedom, that music was axiomatic to that movement of people, right? The liberation not only of bodies but also of souls. That music, which was primarily music that was from a tradition that referred to the story of liberation of the Exodus from the children of Israel, God's people, God's chosen people. By the way, that's you, but from Egypt, to the Promised Land, and here we stand in one of the spots where those folk who knew that that was not just the story of God's chosen people, the Israelites. They knew that that was their story. And here's a spot where they literally passed through this spot. And to me, you know, that music, if you're going to hear, like, nice thing about me playing the song is that I'm not singing it. You're not hearing the lyric. But what you do is you enter into the riches of the spiritual, the power of this music to move people. In that case, literally moving people along, giving them the courage and the strength to go through this terrifying passage from bondage to freedom to the promised land, but movement in the soul and the spirit to give you that, that sweet peace that says, okay, I may not make it, but it ain't going to be because I didn't try. And it's not going to be because God didn't want me to make it. God desires every single human being to be free, right? Freedom is the desired state for the creation from the Creator. The Creator desires that we would all be free. From what? Free from bondage, free from physical bondage, free from emotional bondage, free from all kinds of abusive situations, anything that keeps us in bondage. He desires for us to be free. And so, man, I'm so very grateful for the courage that it took. And again, I say courage, but they had to have been terrified, right? Courage in a context of fear. To be human is to face that thing called fear and just stare it down and say, well, I'm scared, but I'm crazy enough to not give up. So to me, man, I'm overwhelmed to be in this place. And I'm hoping that at least a little of this music will seep into your spirit in the areas in particular that are afraid, that you would perhaps grab onto a little of that courage that it took for these survivors to make it to the promised land. That's what we need. We need to tap into it, right? So we won't we won't give up. We won't lose heart. Don't lose heart. Fear not, right? We're going to make it to the promised land. You, as always, are in a place called Humans Being, but it wouldn't exist if it weren't for something called Kadzukian.com, right? The Kadzukian network of podcasts, a whole lot of stuff you would love. And you can follow us always. Just go on Instagram at Humans Being with Kirk, and on Facebook at Humans Being with Kirk Whalum. Okay? So check us out, and we'll see you again soon.
Humans Being with Kirk Whalum, recorded at Kadzukian Studios.